Just before his resignation, Ukraine's Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk described as critical his country's fight to preserve its territorial integrity. Following the loss of 2 more Ukrainian fighter jets to enemy fire, our Kyiv bureau chief Sergio Cantone asks him about what Arsenyuk calls Russian-led guerrillas.
Do you think that Russia will accept, after new sanction, a kind of ceasefire and a consequent negotiation?
Room still exists. So there is a room for some kind of talks. But the only model of talks the Ukrainian government support is the Geneva format. The United States, the European Union, Ukraine, and Russia. So we still have the room. But we need to have a cell, a prison cell, for those who committed this international crime.
What do you expect over the next, say, few weeks? Do you think that this country you're mentioning will increase its pressure against Ukraine?
Much depends on the ultimate goals of President Putin and his close allies in his regime. We still consider that the ultimate goal of Russian Federation is to eliminate Ukraine and to delete it from the world map. Not to allow Ukraine to become a member of big EU family. Not to allow Ukraine to be an independent and free country. We are fighting for our freedoms and liberties. Look, we are fighting for our land, for our country, and for our future. And in this case, those who fight against us, they are on the dark side.
Now, considering the situation that is a very difficult one for Ukraine, do you think it's the good time from an internal policy point of view, national policy point of view, to dissolve the parliament and to go to new elections as soon as possible?
We have just 2 options, to be or not to be. On the one hand, we need to pass an austerity package in the House. We need to push reforms. And for this task, we have to maintain stability and the majority in the parliament. On the other hand, we need to adhere to the will of the Ukrainian people. They want to resume or to reload the parliament, to have the new one. And the majority of Ukrainians ask for the snap parliamentary elections. This could be a decision in between, I would say. For example, to have snap parliamentary elections after we impose peace and stability in the east of Ukraine.
Don't you think that anyway, in this country, there is a strong need to give the people from the eastern part of the country, the people who are now suffering for this war, a political response? There is a kind of lack of representation for them from a political point of view at the moment. What is your message for these people in view of the possibility of snap election?
Well, first, let me be very clear, because probably your viewers don't know the reality, what's on the ground in Ukraine. The majority of all Ukrainian presidents, prime ministers, and members of Ukrainian government were from the east of Ukraine.
It's not that I don't know the reality of a country, but it's what they say, so I have to...
But we need to talk about, again, the real facts. The second issue is that the east of Ukraine have a huge and vast representation in the parliament, and they entirely control their local parliaments too and local governments. The third issue is that you're absolutely right, that we need to find the political solution. But first we need to figure out what kind of political demands these people have. For example, if it relates to the Russian language, I was the first one who said, look, we still have a valid law on the special status of Russian language.
I'm not talking about the Russian language, I'm talking about their need, what they say. They don't trust Kyiv.
A few days ago I was in Slavyansk. Slavyansk is a former stronghold of these Russian-led guerrillas. And that's true, that probably up to 30% indigenous people of the East, they don't trust Kyiv. And this is absolutely normal. But I saw the faces and the eyes of those who were liberated by the Ukrainian army. Probably they don't like us, but they definitely hate these Russian-led guerrillas.
Just the last question, will you give them, in this sense, the possibility, for instance, to vote for their own governor? Because it's part of a decentralization, for instance.
The idea we have, this so-called decentralization program.
Not the federalization.
No, and because, you know, this was the Russian-shaped program. How to eliminate Ukraine, to make it the federal state, and to buy the parts of Ukraine.
That's the reason why I mentioned decentralization.
So decentralization, what kind of idea we have? For today, the president has appointed governments. We want to eliminate this institute and to allow the local councils directly to elect the governors through the local council. Ready to do it. And the president already introduced to the House an amendment to the Constitution.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.